The breath of wind whispering truths.
The flickering flame igniting our words.
The rushing water cleansing uncouth.
The fractured earth exchanged in thirds.
A spirit's scroll comes unfurled.
As oracle eyes peer into our world.
Unfamiliar.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, night to everybody, specifically Todd. My name is Kat, and my friend's name, husband's name, whatever, is Duckie.
Sup?
And they will say something now. There we go.
Hit me. A duck.
And a duck. And I would like to open this episode by saying I am laying down in my room, sick and dying. I took too much medicine. So you remember the Dayquil episode? Yeah, kind of like that is how it's going to be today. I'm only sick when I have to leave.
Literally, though.
Yeah. So welcome back to Unfamiliar Witches, where we two witches become unfamiliar with each other, and then we have to re-find each other and be friends again. That's how this started, actually. Today, we are going to be talking about ancestors and ancestral magic and cool things like
Air horn. DJ.
Please bear with me. I'm gonna be a little kooky, but you know what? It's still gonna be art, I guess. So let's talk about ancestral work. I have a lot of sources to read from today. So be prepared for that. And maybe this time I'll actually hold myself accountable and freaking post my sources on the Instagram. The other day, we're on what, episode 7 or something now?
I believe this is episode 8.
Great. We're on episode 8, and that's at least 2 weeks after episode 5. And actually 3 weeks because we did a Thanksgiving one. And I 100% did not post my sources on Instagram like I said I was going to whenever it released, but I did it yesterday, so it's fine.
Probably same.
Today,
I feel like I have been yeah, absolutely, I will do this and this and this on the Insta, and then I forget to do it. So
right, exactly.
Same boat.
Social media is hard. We don't know how that works. Thanks. All right, Todd, are you wondering what ancestral work is?
I am.
Great answer, Todd. Oh, good. Great, Todd. Even better answer, Duckie. So I'm going to read from crowsbone.com, which is a blog by a green witch, I want to say. Please correct me if I am wrong, if you guys know this website and this blog. And we find a definition for ancestral work here. I'm going to read it to you because I agree with it. I should start from the top. Ancestral work is honoring and preserving the legacies and work of those who have come before you. Communicating with those ancestors, sharing in their wisdom, and making room for the ancestors in your life and practice. Sometimes creating a mutually beneficial arrangement of you helping or honoring them in exchange for their help and guidance. Engaging with, honoring, and preserving ancestral familial and cultural practices and traditions. Healing ancestral wounds and repairing ancestral trauma. At its core, ancestral work is all of this in one. This is the root of the practice, so where does one begin, is the question that Crowsbone poses. All right, let's talk about that a little bit. So, starting with the first section, honoring and preserving the legacies and work of those who have come before you. In the spiritual world, or in witchcraft, or whatever you would like to label, if you would like to label, ancestral work is first and foremost about connection. I mentioned in the very first video podcast, whatever, the very first episode, that I have a very real connection to the women that have come before me. Because most of my familial ancestors, most of my female ancestors are mediums or psychics or whatever you want to label that. They have like some kind of clairvoyance. So I feel like a huge connection to them based on that. This is not the case for everyone, I'm positive. So doing ancestor work may help you to come into connection with those who have come before. Fun fact, on TikTok right now, there's actually this huge trend that I am going to post a TikTok about when I'm not sick. That's like, I found this ring in like my grandma's jewelry box and it called to me and now I have it. And then it's like a ring that was passed down from generations and generations, and you just by chance were called to it. That is ancestral magic. In that same TikTok trend, there are some people that are like, my name being this, let's just say like Agatha, my name being Agatha, and nobody really thinking too much of it. And then showing a picture of their like great great grandmother, Agatha, who looks almost exactly the same as them. Like, that's all ancestral magic. And it's really freaking cool. And I'm really glad that that is happening in social media right now when we are talking about it on the podcast. Because that's a fun little like intro to ancestral magic and what it means and does for you. Do you have questions so far, Duck?
I was just thinking about the name thing. One thing that's very fascinating that I relate to in that is this isn't the case for my brother and my sister, weirdly, but my middle name is my father's first name, or like a shorter form of my father's first name. His middle name is his dad's middle name. And then I believe his dad and his grandfather, if I found everything correctly in my Ancestry.com stuff, I think they share a middle name. So maybe it was somebody before their first name. I don't know. It seems to be the tradition. So that's kind of a neat little thing I've noticed recently.
Yeah, that's cool.
And obviously, we just had our episode about numerology, where we were talking about the importance of names and stuff. So I actually almost want to look into the numerology of those names and see if there's a pattern I can find or something like that. Because I think my mom's middle name is her mom's middle name too. So I feel like it might even happen on both sides of the tree. I don't know. Super cool thought that I just had.
That's really cool because on my family, on my mom's side, my grandmother, who just recently passed away, her first name was not the name she went by. She always went by her middle name. And it's because she didn't like it. Well, that first name is the familial, like, matron name. Like, it goes back several generations that they would all name their daughter this name. It had to be like a middle name or a first name. And that name did not get passed down to my mom. It got passed down to my mom's sister. And I am the only product, like the only blood grandchild of my grandmother. And so it's like people think that that is kind of cursed. So that's fun.
That is fascinating.
Isn't that fascinating? So I've kind of reclaimed that name in my spiritual, like, working name,
Yeah.
I don't know if I sent you like my middle name for my spiritual name, but my middle name is now the family one. So I'll send that to you later so you can see it.
That is so cool. That's so magical.
Thank you. I thought so too. Yeah, speaking of like names and spiritual names and stuff, I was watching a documentary about twin flames, like the cult, the other day, actually today.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, these people be just changing their names and being like, my spiritual name is Cassius Schwebon. That was like not actually someone's name. I'm just making up sounds.
Right.
Because that's what they were doing. They were like Akadawa. And I was like, that's racist, probably stop. But your spiritual name genuinely can be like basically anything. It's just a name that calls to you something that like fills you with magic and like you connect to. So that may be like a little thing for you if you're thinking about like creating a spiritual name to work with. Maybe look to your ancestors, because sometimes stuff like that is really helpful and extra powerful.
Yeah. And looking to not only
Yeah.
like your ancestry, but your heritage as well. And thinking
Hmm.
of if you're able to find out, if you can do an ancestry.com, even if you just like, for me, I'm obviously not, I got my ancestry.com results. I'm obviously not going to be able to find like blood relatives back to like the 1600s, right? But I know the
Right.
location now. So I could
Yeah.
pull from the cultural significance of certain names or certain plants
Hmm.
or animals that they relied on to stay alive, that sort of thing. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, like your genealogy really can do a lot for you.
It sure can. Yeah. And we'll get to some of that in my talk about like honoring ancestors in a little bit. But yes, correct. Your genealogy can do a lot for you. Which is why I think also, not to like blast my family right now, it is crazy. My grandmother was so interested in genealogy. She has, and we have now, we got copies of it. She had made herself and like researched herself uh, our family tree from present day to like the 1800s. And then she had a second binder that was 1800s to like further back than that,
Oh my gosh, that's
which is
awesome.
crazy. It is amazing. And I'm going to have to pull it out and look at it because that kind of stuff is so cool.
And like, that's
Um,
such a magical tool that your family can use. Even if you're the
yeah,
only one
like,
that ever actually looks at it, like,
yeah, it even, not to like, make it about me or anything, but like, it could be that she had the drive to do all of that because it was meant for me, or it could be meant for my mom, or it could be my aunt, like whatever drove her to do that is amazing. Like, what a huge force.
yeah.
Yeah. Communicated. Sorry, the next topic on this what ancestral work is page is communicating with those ancestors, sharing in their wisdom, and making room for the ancestors in your life and practice, sometimes creating a mutually beneficial arrangement of you helping or honoring them in exchange for their help and guidance. That was a lot of words. Basically, ancestral work can sometimes mean that you call upon your ancestors for guidance or help or, any number of those things. And they have the ability to create agreements with you as well. Now, I know somebody's probably shaking in their little boots, and it would be me about 7 years ago being like, I'm not supposed to make contracts with the devil. Well, let me tell you what. This is not the devil. This is maybe your great grandpa or like somebody from like the ancient times that you've descended from, whose purpose now is to protect you and watch over your family line. Um, it all just depends on what you believe spiritually and what feels right for you. I watched a TikTok the other day. I could not quote the name because my liked list got deleted. So I don't know whose it was, but if you're listening to this right now, please give me your name and I will just straight up be like, hello, this is the person I was talking about. Please go check them out. But I watched a TikTok the other day where somebody thought they were making contact with like their like great grandma or something. I think it was. I think it was the great grandmother. And then eventually, as they were like working more, the answers became clearer and clearer that this was a much older being. It was like a much more ancient entity. And what this creator wanted, like needed help with, was protection, not to throw it back to episode 5 or anything. And like these ancient entities, these like very old ancestors of ours, may be rolling around in some wonderful spiritual goop that we don't know about. and may have like better protective abilities and wards and stuff. And I think that's really cool that they were making contact like that. So don't be afraid to, like try to call out to your ancestors. I promise they're not like the worst demons you will ever meet. That being said, if you want to contact demons, sure, I'm not going to stop you, but like also be safe, please.
True.
Yeah, any thoughts?
There is I would also say just be wary because you could encounter when contacting ancestors, I feel like you could encounter some that aren't elevated spirits, and they
Right.
potentially still hold on to some of their earthly values, let's say.
Right.
So they could want what they deem is best for you, but maybe that goes against your modern values. That's just a thought, you know? But I definitely see incredible value with attempting to contact your spirits. And if you need
Yeah.
help in doing so, a really simple way to do it is a glass of water and a candle, and you just kind of set it on your altar or whatever space you have that can be undisturbed. And you can change the water out like essentially daily, frequently. Light the candle as you can safely. Don't leave a candle lit when you go out of your house. But obviously, but there's like very simple ways to honor your ancestors, and then that also kind of opens the connection to start communication with them. And that's just something you kind of
Right.
learn on your own what your communication looks like. It could be you go for a walk in the park, you ask questions out loud, and the wind blows, and you get yes or no based on whether the wind's blowing or not. That's very simple, you know.
Yeah.
Um, that sort of thing.
Yeah, correct. And on top of that, to like add another little layer, just be careful about trickster spirits. We talked about chaos energy and trickster gods and stuff in one of our early episodes. Just be wary. If it doesn't feel right, it's not right. If it's starting to like give you answers you don't need, or you're not looking for, get out of there. They can be tricky. They can like blend in a little bit, but if you're calling with intention to your ancestors, I believe that you will be able to make that call. And go back and listen to episode 5 about protection before you do any of that. Because I will die if there is a little baby out there not doing protection before they do their rituals. Duckie.
Yeah, don't listen to me. Make sure your mirrors do not face your bed, all of the things.
Yeah, correct. Fabulous. The next thing on this list is engaging with, honoring, and preserving ancestral, familial, and cultural. Oh my goodness! Please stop. Practices and traditions. I keep talking about TikTok, but that's just because ancestors be on my TikTok recently. That's probably a sign. But I saw another TikToker earlier today, actually, who was like, I think Australian was the person she was talking about, nationality, and they were like putting out a little fairy garden to complete some ancestor work because that's part of her culture and part of what she does. And then like peeking around the corner was like her Irish husband, terrified because the Irish Fae are like way different from like other Fae.
Right. That's
And that
hilarious.
was that was so funny. Um, so yeah, reaching out, looking back across your family lines, finding that culture, like Ducky was talking about earlier, like your genealogy. Fun things about that can help you along your ancestor journey as well. I know for me, this is gonna sound so stupid. Why am I saying this? But I got it because I wrote it down. Fun fact for you all, I'm related to Betsy Ross, who sewed the American flag as we know it today. or like the first one, or I think it was the first one with the circle of the stars because the colonies. Anyway, I am very distantly related to Betsy Ross, which is so funny because literally all of the women in my family do fiber arts of some sort,
Right.
crocheting, knitting, sewing.
I literally was
Like,
like,
isn't that
yeah, that
funny?
tracks. That tracks so hard.
That's right, right?
And
And
also
could that be just?
is amazing, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. Um, and could that be a coincidence? Absolutely. But I think it is such a powerful, like, little fun fact that I'm just going to continue to think of it that way because that's how I need, that's just how it be for my practice. I think that got passed down. So that's cool.
And that's definitely whether intentionally or not, like that is an ancestor that is keeping that tradition alive in her family, you know? And then you doing so is very much so honoring your ancestor, and I would say even in a way like kind of communicating with them. Like maybe when the feeling you feel when you sew could be the exact feeling she felt. You know what I mean?
Exactly. That's just really cool. Yeah, stuff like that you can definitely use to kind of commune, I guess, with your ancestors as well. Like if you find out they made a lot of fiber art, if they were big crocheters, crochet for a little bit, see if any piece comes to you, see what happens there. If you come from a long line of farmers and they grew specifically potatoes, farm some potatoes, man, like just a little box or something. Make that part of your little practice and see if that does anything for you too.
We come from a one of the last names on our side is people who were like deer hunters and deer hide tanners and stuff like that. And it's the word
Mm.
for that in their culture. So that's something that I've never really connected with, but that you could even find animals and stuff like that too. Like,
Yeah, absolutely, you could. Phenomenal. Um, yeah, I'm going to move to the last one on this list, which is healing ancestral wounds and repairing ancestral trauma. So this one's kind of an iffy subject because there's a lot that has gone on in history. And when I mean a lot, I mean like wars, people owning other people, um, workhouses for small children before labor laws existed. Your ancestors could have been so traumatized, my dude. And sometimes that energy passes down through the line as well, depending on like how big that event was. Um, Technically speaking, ancestor work can be used to help heal some of that ancestral trauma. Some of the anxiety or the depression that you feel, and I'm not saying this is a medical professional, I'm not a medical professional, um, could be like ancestry related. Um, my mother swears that she has never, I mean, I know she's never like fallen off of a bridge in a car, but one of her like recurring nightmares is that she's in a car on a bridge and it's an older car and the bridge falls and like collapses and she's in the water. And that is something that happened to one of our ancestors. So that is a trauma that has been passed down a little bit, she believes at least. And I believe that too. So using like spirituality and connecting with like that ancestor could help be like heal some of that and be like, look, we are okay, everything is good, the family lineage goes on, it's all okay. That being said, I'm going to make a little statement right now. If you are a beginner witch or a beginner spiritualist, I wouldn't jump right into healing ancestral trauma because that can be hard, daunting, scary, very taxing on you. You may see things you never wanted to see and that hurt you. You may feel things the way that that ancestor felt them. So this is like higher level shit. Please stay away if you feel even the slightest inkling that it could harm you. That's what I got.
yep,
That's what I got on that.
I agree. I think Well, for example, I've done this for like what, 7, 8 years now, and I'm just now starting my ancestry route. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
not to mention, like, just starting learning how to communicate with them properly, not even
Hmm.
healing. Like, yeah, it's a
Yeah, for sure.
it's a lot, you know. And I think that knowledge is very important. And you don't want to go into something like this blind, right? Kind of the
Yeah.
same with like you don't want to really go into working with deity blind. You don't really want to go into anything in witchcraft blind, other than things that are mundane that happen to be magical as well, you know, because that's just
Hmm.
something that like everyone does. But
For sure. Yes, correct.
and
Great.
on that yawn, let's take a short little break.
Yeah, let's do that. Short break.
Hey, it's Ducky. Enjoying the show? Be sure to share us with your friends and don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, follow, rate us, leave us a review, all the things. Now let's get back to the magic with Unfamiliar Witches.
Oh, welcome back, friends. We are now going to segue to another blog, and this is blog.greenwitchliving.com, where we're going to get some. I'm just like taking the titles pretty much because it's like a list. So I'm going to tell you some of the things on this list about working with your ancestors and stuff. We're just going to talk about honoring them. And then we'll talk about Ducky's ancestry for a minute because you guys have heard a lot about mine.
Hell yeah.
Um, so ways that you can honor your ancestors and then find ways to communicate with them. Ducky already put um, one of them out there. Create an ancestor altar and or shrine. That's very large in the Japanese community, and also the Chinese do it as well. Having a little shrine for a loved one that has passed in your home. So altars or shrines are really helpful. It just helps you to connect that spirit and that person to that physical object. Other ways you can connect with and honor your ancestors. Visit their graves. That was something that my grandmother did a lot before she died. While she was researching, she would go and visit the graveyards and like visit the graves of those in the family. I would like to follow in those footsteps at some point and like do a big tour of the US and just like go to the different spots that my ancestors are buried and see it. I think that would be really cool.
That would be so cool. Yeah. I
It would be
actually was
so
thinking
sick.
about something very similar too. Because in my ancestry stuff, in my little research stuff, I've actually been able to find like pictures of the graves too. So I even know like exactly what I'm looking for when I go to the graveyards. So
Wow, that's really cool. I love that. Another one is to reminisce with old photo albums of your family. If you have photos of your ancestors or anything, look through them, feel them, vibe with them. Um, Craft together, which goes into like what I was saying earlier about Betsy Ross and us all doing like fiber arts and crafts and stuff like that. Doing interests that your ancestors had may bring you closer to them. Maybe your uncle is staring at you going, "It's knit one, purl two, not knit two, purl one." That would be really fun, actually.
that's hilarious.
Thank you.
I think also,
Um,
as part of like craft, um, you could also just play music, read a book out
yeah,
loud, or read the chapter that you're
exactly.
on. Just be like, okay, for this chapter, I'm just going to read out loud to myself, but they can listen if they want to. And you can even say that out loud, like, hey, feel free to listen in. Just sharing a little part of my day, a little part of my story that I'm reading. Or turn on a specific song that like really drives home with you and you love and be like, hey, I'm just reaching out. Like, you can kind of literally just talk as if you're on the phone with somebody, right? Like, hey, just if you want to listen, feel free to. This is a song that really resonates with me. I feel such and such and such when I listen to it. Yeah, feel free to watch me dance and wiggle and sing really loudly to this great song, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
Kind of ancestry spirit in general, your spirit guides, all of them. Love that.
yeah, for sure. Other things you could even do, like pottery. You could do like, I don't know, cool little fuck, what are they called? Flower crowns, if they made a lot of like flower crowns or dealt with florals. You can tell them that you're gonna read them a part of your day and then read them like the most toe curling smut off of AO3.
Oh my gosh.
Who am I to judge you?
Honestly,
Maybe that's what they're into.
read smut to your ancestors if you take home anything from this.
I
That's
want that on a
dope.
shirt.
I'm gonna do that. That's so rad.
Yes. Thank you. I love it. You got to connect with them somehow, right? My next one is create an ancestor tea blend. Choose herbs, roots, botanicals to create an herbal tea that your ancestors may have enjoyed, which goes back to like Duckie being like, they would pick flowers or like look at herbs and stuff that were in your genealogy's area. Yeah. You can even sit there and have a little tea party and be like, I made this tea just for you. And we're going to sit here and we're going to have it together. And then just like chat.
That sounds, one, just so fucking fun, cute, and adorable. Like,
Right?
not to mention how magical that would be. Like, that's just also
Yeah,
fun.
literally.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, that's just so much fun. You could just go on and do it, man. 10 out of 10. That's probably going to be the one that I do next, actually. Another one that I liked was write letters to your ancestors. When you find out who they are or like where they are from, even if you don't know a whole lot about them, if you know a name, write a letter. Take it and, set it somewhere special or like give it to the breeze or give it to the fire or something. Just write them a letter and send it to them.
and even if you're not sure to, even if you don't know a name, like, you can just address it to my ancestors, like, to the
Right.
women that came before me, that sort of thing. Like,
Exactly. And just set it free. Set those thoughts free to go find them.
and then you could even like, not that you necessarily would want to, because maybe you want to reflect on it later, but you could burn it or something like that too. Very
You
common
could.
practice for stuff. So,
Right. If you have biodegradable paper that is not harmful to the environment,
well, yeah.
you could even place it in a stream or something and let it take it away. Cool shit, man. And my last little piece of advice when you're starting to work with your ancestors is to visualize. Now, we talk a little bit about in the protection episode, like if you're wanting to protect a space, envision that space in like a bubble or a ball of light or something like that. And visualize that your ancestors are there with you. Know that they are there. Feel that they are there. Put an image in your head, even if that image is just like a duck, but like really big in the room with you. Like visualize something that goes with that ancestor. Helps to call them a little bit easier.
Me as an ancestor. Quack,
Literally,
motherfucker.
if you died before me, I would straight up just be envisioning like a giant duck in my room, and I'd be like, Duckie, I'm having this problem. You're not even my ancestor, but like, Duckie, I'm having this problem.
Right. Well, I also think there's remarkable value with passing on little things that people notice or stories from their ancestry that are related to a certain person. So for example, if I were to pass, let's hope I don't, but if I do, or when I do, I should say, anybody who knew me, when they see a duck or when they see a rubber duck, they're probably going to think of me if I was part of their life in any meaningful way, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have a ancestor, very not far removed from us, and I can't remember the exact details, so I don't want to say the wrong thing, but I think it was like my great grandmother. Her patio or porch always had ladybugs on it, and that is like a huge symbol in our family is ladybugs, because it's just like a thing that everybody shared, and it's a story that keeps being told. And I have like little my grandma had a little ladybug sticky note pad that she used to write notes on and give them to me for like every special or big occasion in my life, and those are things that I will
Mm-hmm.
cherish forever. um, my grandma used to refer to all of her grandkids as her little angels. She has a denim jacket where we're all little bees on it. She loved s'mores, so we all have little s'mores ornaments that represent us. Like, there's all kinds of things, and you probably do them and you don't even notice. But that's like another really good way to like connect to your ancestry, is finding those like small little niche things that kind of just your family does, that are like little
Oh,
symbols that just spark that image and that thought and that emotion.
I love that. I agree. Um, at this point in time, I would like to turn it over even more so to Ducky because you have your ancestry results. And I would love for you to like take a minute and talk to us about that in whatever extent you are comfortable with.
Yeah.
If you want to talk about like where people are from, some cool things you found. I know you said you found like pictures of graves, which is really helpful.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, just to kind of dive in, I'll just be pretty frank about all this because it's not like I will be tracked very easily. I'm not going to give out like names or anything necessarily. But
Right.
so we used to think this is kind of new knowledge, whatever. Me and my sister was telling me she was pretty sure that on my dad's side, that my grandma on my dad's side was confirmed had Cherokee in her blood line. And we're pretty sure that my grandfather on my dad's side also had some sort of Native American in his bloodline. And we were like, potentially, it could be like 50%. I could be like 50% Native American, but because we don't have any tribal association, doesn't necessarily mean anything. Like, it does to me, but it doesn't to like the government or anything like that. Turns
Mm-hmm.
out, somewhere along the line, some sort of miscommunication happened, or things were hidden because of certain other aspects of life, or something, question mark, not sure what went down. Um, Turns out I'm 100% white.
Yeah.
But when doing all of the research and getting the DNA results, I am not the white that I thought that I was, which is also fascinating. Um,
Yeah.
so we expected pretty much my entire mom's side to be German because we know somebody at some point that we knew did their genealogy for their family line. And when they did theirs, they found ours before they found somebody that married into our family.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we popped up on their tree faster than the person they were really looking for did, which is hilarious. Um, so my family on my mom's side comes from, I think it's like three brothers and a sister, all from Germany. Uh, the two brothers and one sister came to America, or something. It's something along these lines. And one stayed with the rest of the family in Germany, and then those three settled in a place and had tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of children and grandchildren and blah 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 and down. And the families
Mm-hmm.
were gigantic. So we were assuming like fully German. But I'm actually, I'll read out the percentages. 46% England and Northwestern Europe, uh, 39% Germanic Europe, so pretty close, and that's most of it, and then 7% from Scotland, 6% from Sweden and Denmark, and 2% from Wales, which comes out of nowhere and I haven't found yet on the actual tree. But basically, very like Germanic tribes is where I would have
Yeah.
originated from. Celtic, Germanic, most likely. We weren't really expecting like tons of European to come up, so that's kind of interesting because even on my dad's side, when I'm searching back, I'm finding places like Prussia and stuff like that, which is obviously closer to Germany than to
Yeah.
Europe. So I don't know. It's weird and it's fascinating and not the results I thought, but I've been able to find tons of information. And I used Ancestry.com. I just did a little DNA kit, and then I did they had like 3 months for $1 for their membership, which is the way you can look into all of the records and like build your own family tree, basically. So I was like, $1 extra, sure, absolutely. And then as I did that, I kind of started uncovering more stuff, and I was like, oh, okay, this is the fascinating part, actually, because I was just like, I just want to know the percentages, really. But then it turns out like, oh no, the genealogy part of it all, the research is actually the most fascinating. Um, yeah, I just like I have found images from like 19 and 1800s of the families, which is fascinating. And I found like I'll find like a couple that's relevant, and then the like one child obviously is part of the tree, but then slowly finding out that they have like 10 brothers and sisters is like crazy to me because like I have one brother and one sister, and even that is like gigantic for me. Like that feels
That's
like
a lot.
a big family. Like 5 people feels like a big family. So I can't even fathom having like 5 brothers and sisters. Like that would blow my mind.
Yeah, that would be so many.
Or being an only child on the opposite of that. Like I'm like, what would I? But what do you do?
Yeah.
Like I know that's whatever, but
No,
I don't know.
like what do you do?
And then it's also fascinating because um when looking into my ancestry, I also can't help but go, okay, I'm queer and cannot have children. I have no intention to ever have children. I do not like children. Um, my, not to air out my sister's business, she left a 10-year long relationship uh recently, like past 3-4 years now. So like I don't really think she has any intention to really like get married and have children at this point. And like my brother most likely isn't going to either because of the way he acts and presents himself in the world.
Yeah,
So it's like
valid.
our bloodline is dead with us, but then we also have cousins that are like currently have children and stuff. So it's kind of not.
Yeah.
But on my dad's side, he has a sister. She doesn't have any children. So it's also dead there. So like one tree of my family is just like, or one like half of the tree of my family is potentially
Yeah, it's just
gone
like
with us,
dead.
which is like weird and fascinating. I don't know. There's not a,
Yeah.
it's like, how do I don't plan on having kin? I really hope I do not have a child. So who honors me when I'm an ancestor? Like that's a fascinating theory. And then new question to pose. Can you honor your ancestry for found family?
Oh, you know, I would say yes.
I think so too. Um, I think I have 2 best friends in the entire world. One of them I'm currently talking to.
Oh,
The other one is a man named Ian. Shout out Ian.
Shout out to Ian. I wonder how he's doing. I haven't talked to him in years.
He has a child now.
What?
Yeah, it's weird. Um,
Weird.
I I knew Ian in college as a womanizer, a total player, like a party goer, and he's become this like adult randomly, and he's got a son, and it's like strange, and I think he's
That's
probably,
so weird.
I'm not going to put anything out into the universe because I don't know, but I think he's probably going to marry the person he's currently with. That's what I
Mhm.
see happening because, duh, they have a child together. But it's just like, um, if I ever, he lives multiple states away as well. If I ever get to know that child, or if I'm ever Uncle Ducky to that child, does that child, am I an ancestor for that child? Who knows? Probably. I would say so.
Probably.
But that's kind of a fun thought too.
Yeah.
And
That
then
is
it's,
interesting because then that. You go ahead.
I just was like, that just sparks my brain of going, like, immediately just searching through all of the people I can think of, like, okay, who is that in my life that I don't even recognize that that's a thing, you know?
I was even going to say that opens it up on the spiritual side too, because is there a potential that that ancestry line, someone in that line could reject that idea and be like, that's not my kid?
Ooh, yeah. And um, I also can't help but think, because you said that, let's say we are a culturally white Germanic people, right? Um,
Hmm.
like if I married somebody with like almost the exact same like heritage as me, heritage genetic ancestry as me, and then we adopted like a Chinese child. Does our ancestry accept that? Does that child, would that child work with their Chinese ancestry? Would that child try to work with both ancestry? It's
Yeah,
just fascinating because, you know, there could be personal grudges for certain ancestors on my side, and that's a thing that
could
like
be
I would try to help
ancestral
with, but
trauma.
yeah. And then it's like if they heal that trauma and they become elevated spirits, do they look out? Is that like would that spirit look out for them? Is that tie just kind of cut? I don't know, kind of
Yeah,
weird to think
kind of
about being
weird.
grafted onto a family tree, let's say, you know?
Yeah.
But this is also like it's weird. It's not, I shouldn't say weird. It is unfamiliar to me, but it is so familiar to so
Uh-huh.
many other people. And there are people that
Yeah,
obviously were adopted and they have no clue what their family even looks like what
exactly.
their blood line looks like properly.
Right. That's super interesting.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, because if that child grows up, like if your adopted child grows up, has a child with somebody else, that child would be part of your family. Like that would be your grandchild, right?
Right.
So they would honor your ancestors, but would they also honor the like child the previous ones, like their mom's ancestors or
Right.
whatever?
And then they also
Yeah.
have the person they married and their ancestry.
Yeah.
And was that person adopted? And you know, like I think it really just I think
Mhm.
ancestral magic is really just because at the end of the day, magic was created, in my opinion, and in my findings. Like magic is a earthly explanation and connection to essentially the cycle of life. Um,
Right.
because I feel like the most basic version of farming and people in the past that were farmers. Like everything they were doing was magic, and that's why like everything that the Christian church brought into their stuff to convert all of the pagans is like literally holidays and like based on the calendar year and based on the moon and based on the harvests, because like it was just ingrained in society. So I can't help but go like, okay, so is ancestral magic really just a like one of the most powerful reminders that like magic is about connecting with the earth and the people that reside on it and the animals and the plants that
Yeah.
reside on it, and just honoring kind of everything. Like even the person who's out to get you, that hates you and wants to kill you, like you still kind of want to honor them and lift them and elevate them in a way, not to like a position of power, unfortunately for the government, but
Yeah, yeah.
but you want to, like my worst enemy, I would not wish that their soul or whatever, their when they are an ancestor, I wouldn't want them to feel misery or pain. Like I would want them elevated too, because that's just going to make it easier on everyone. Like
Exactly. Intentions.
I don't know.
Yeah. I
And then I
agree.
just had a, sorry, not to interject another thing, but I just had like a vision of like an Ouroboros with a like snake eating its own tail, and just I don't know, it was like a very strong vision I just got visually. So
Love it.
which, you know,
That's your
going to
ancestry.
Celtic, and yeah, I was gonna say that's literally the ancestry, so kicking in. But
I took my ancestry pills. They're kicking in now.
you before this
Yeah.
podcast
Literally.
with your acetaminophen.
My acetaminophen being like, I'm gonna see my grandma tonight.
The Hat Man, Benadryl, the Hat Man.
No, man, no, I owe him money.
He owes me money.
Great. Do you have anything else that you wanted to talk about or present during this episode? Because if not, I have a good way to close it out and call it good. I know we're probably a little short actually this week, but I kept
That's
all my
okay.
stuff pretty concise.
We can do shorties and longies. It's fun.
Yeah.
Let's see if I have any thoughts in my brain. I don't know. I think the like Ouroboros is the kind of the kingpin of all of my thoughts on this now, because it was just such a
Yeah.
strong visual.
Well, that also pulls in the idea. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, yeah.
The idea of like rebirth and reincarnation, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
that's totally a cycle. That's totally part of that.
Yeah. And it's the first person on Earth, or the first living thing on Earth, and the last living thing on Earth are obviously going to be connected. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Also, like,
yeah,
random thought. So the Big Bang, right?
Yeah.
I don't know why I have this thought that it's just like, I think of this a lot. Okay, you know those plastic spiky balls that when you pull it out, it's like all a bunch of different joints basically that are flexing and moving. So when it's closed, it's like a spiky ball. And then when you open it up, it's this like big sphere that's like open. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
For if you don't, I'm gonna find a picture and post it on our Instagram. I'm actually gonna do it this time.
I believe in you.
I think of the Big Bang like one of those. Like it's just an explosion, and then it just eventually will go back into an implosion, back into one little tiny spot, and then just keep doing it again and again and again. That's it. That was my thought.
That's good.
Literally just out of nowhere.
I loved it. 10 out of 10. Did you want to do a card pull for this, or did you want to leave it where we have it?
I did one while we were talking, and then just kind of
Yeah.
let it inform like the words I was saying. So
Oh,
nah,
cool. What'd you
no
pull?
need. I pulled the Knight of Wands and then
Ooh.
what was the other one? Oh, it's gone now. I shuffled the deck. Oh god. I think it was the Four of Swords. It's the card that is hilariously um it's like an image of a crypt or a coffin of some sort. It's got three swords
Hmm.
on the wall, and then there's a stained glass window, and it's like there's I think on the top of the coffin, like the lid is like a golden knight that's like part of the lid. I think it's like the three or the four
Oh,
of swords. Um, so it was kind of like literal like ancestry is what that one was. And then
yeah.
the Knight of Wands, I was kind of getting this like this idea of connecting to your ancestry. The best way you're going to be able to connect to and communicate with your ancestry is by doing and reaching out
Hmm.
and attempting to go out and find that spark and that creativity and that
Yeah.
passion for it. And you just kind of have to do it, and you have to go, and you have to kind of trek fearlessly into the unknown. So
Hmm.
that.
Yeah. So that's good advice. Reach out to your family line and just be with those ancestors. Like, see what comes to you and what help that can give you. I suggest meditating first. I always say to start it with meditation, and if it doesn't meditate right, then maybe don't do it. But like, it's fine. Um, to finish us out for this episode, I have a cool little fun fact for you. So a while ago, my aunt was staying with us because she and my mom do craft shows together sometimes. And my aunt does a lot of psychic empathy stuff, like, not to sound kitschy and gross, but like she does a lot of spirit readings, like vibe checking the room, seeing if there's anybody in there. She's gotten to like a good point where she's able to sense and feel energies and spirits and stuff. So she sat down at my grandmother's table, and I will say it for the billionth time, my grandmother who passed away recently, because I feel like I say it at least once an episode, so I gotta just put it out there. That's gonna be another shirt.
Drank.
Yeah, yeah. She sat down and she felt that her mother was there. So she sat down with like a glass of water or whatever to have a conversation with her, and she asked my grandmother, "How are you doing?" And what my grandmother sent to her was, "I was confused, but I know everything now, and everything is okay." So hopefully that brings peace to somebody out there who may be struggling with like loss of a loved one. What we really, all of us, obtained from that was when you're in life, there are so many things that can jade you and jade your like vision, and whether what religion you're in, what you believe, it's all different and creates a unique human. I mentioned before that I think my grandmother went Pentecostal, I think it was. And what she mentioned was nothing about God, nothing about religion, just I was confused. I now know all, and everything is okay. So, whatever you believe and whatever is going on with your family, and if you are struggling with a loved one passing, know that they are now not confused and everything is okay. So, thank you for joining us for that little sad ending of the episode. Well, it wasn't really sad, it
It
was
was
just kind of like
beautiful.
mellow.
It was
Thank
absolutely gorgeous.
you. Thank you. Um, that's all I have today. So, unless Ducky wants to do a sad speech or something, we will say goodbye until next time.
Have a wonderful, spiritual, enlightening week. That's it. Oh, I got a new job. Okay, goodbye.
Oh yeah, and my horse died. The one that I said was dying.
Oh
My horse died.
no. That
Yeah,
horse is
she
part of
passed
your
away the other night.
ancestry.
Oh my
Real
gosh,
though.
you're
Real
right.
though. Oh, we didn't even talk
Real
about
though.
pets being part of your ancestry.
Shit.
Oh, we're gonna have a pet episode. Don't worry about it.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
We're good. We're good.
Ancestry Part 2, pets.
Join us next week for our ghost conversation. Did not even think about how fitting that was, because we're literally talking about ancestry and spirits. Fascinating.
Now we're going to talk about ghosts.
We are amazing. Also, we literally manifested my job. Just saying, because we talked about it.
We literally did. We talked about it, and we were like, yeah, this is going to happen. And it did.
I straight up said, I think I literally said, you were like, what do you want to start for the fall? And I said, a new job.
Yeah, 100%. We were talking about manifestation, and you were like, a new job. That's my new beginning I want. And you got it.
Boom.
Which is perfect, because fall is the thinning of the veil. So maybe we reached out to ancestors doing that, and they helped us manifest.
Actually, so real. And now I work, I'm a chiropractic assistant. So the company that I work for is very holistic, and let me put it this way, and this is not I'm trying not to be judgmental when I say this. They're not people that are like, if you come to chiropractic care, we can cure your cancer and your blindness. Like, that's not the vibe, right? They're doing like, I was kind of skeptical at first, but now that I've worked there 2 days, I'm like, and I trust me, I will not drink the pudding. I literally would not, right? Yeah, I said that. Drink the pudding. Wow. Okay.
Drink the pudding.
But like, what I have witnessed thus far, like, they're doing, the way that they are doing it is actual science. It feels correct.
Yeah.
It feels honorable and like it has integrity. And I feel really good about that, because it's like very witchy.
Hmm.
And it's fascinating to be in such a like witchy place that is health based, when I have like a severe fear of like the healthcare of America, and like being on medications, one of my greatest fears in life. And I don't know, it's just like fascinating to be in a place that is so witchy right now.
Oh, I love that for you.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a gift, you know.
Yeah,
from ancestry.
I'm going to fly all the way to your state, and I am going to insist that you pop my back. That is all.
I will never know how to, so I will do it.
Perfect.
You betcha. I'll figure it out.
Exactly what I want. You'll figure it out. Just watch a couple times. I'm sure it'll be fine.
I'll just make a bag of popcorn and pour it out on your back.
Perfect. That's what I want. All right.
Amazing.
Bye, guys. Bye, Todd.
Bye, Todd.
I'm so proud of you. You're doing great.
Todd, you're the best. I think
you're the best, Todd.
I'm pretty sure I used to have an uncle named Todd.
Thanks so much for listening. If you liked that episode, please leave us a review and a 5-star rating on whatever podcast platform you're on. Also, feel free to follow us over on our socials at Unfamiliar Witches, where we post bonus witchy content and chaos. See you next week. Play us out, Janet.